years, 9 months, another year before anything happens. And meanwhile, I'm speaking for the East Side residents, I think we have 16 of non-conforming, illegal. We have a huge number. We have more in the works. So is there any way to put a lid on this until we go back to ordinance, until we have a new ordinance? And I just wanted to say, the more that you have, I think the harder it's going to be afterwards.
Right.
So that's my question.
I can, Naomi, if you could call my office, just anybody that knows of any illegal dispensaries needs to let us know, because our planning department has a ticketing authority, they have enforcement authority, and they would like to close up any dispensaries that are just opening for fun or whatever they're doing. I don't know what that is.
Close to schools.
Yeah.
Mapped it out there.
Well, just call. You can call my office. It's 564-5321. But it's I will send it over to our planning department enforcement. They do not even. There's an enforcement line too that won't even. Usually, you have to have your name and a phone number. You have to give them your name. We'll take any of those addresses without your name even. We just want to find out where the illegal ones are and get rid of them. We'll come down on them. That's just but the problem for us is just that so many more want to open, and so they're just opening, and then they come to us, and they shouldn't be doing that. They should be coming to us and getting a copy of the ordinance and finding out what they need to do to open.
Last time I checked, there were only 13 or 14 of your colleagues running for mayor at the same time.
You're right. Everybody thinks I have a great job.
Is there anything close to a consensus on the council about this, about a moratorium, about a cap, about any of these issues that we've heard the neighbors talk about?
Well, as I said, we looked over the ordinance at our council meeting a week ago, and everybody was in agreement that we need to put some kind of rein in on it, and most people, when I talked about a cap in certain areas, they seemed to think that was a good idea. So that was sent over to our ordinance committee, but that's the 7 of us up there, and everybody but me is running for something. So who knows what they really mean, But I think there's an agreement that they need to go through a process. They can't just open up, and if they are opening up, they need to be womped on,
Okay.
Jerry, one of the things is distance between collectives too. I think most cities have a distance between dispensaries. In Santa Barbara, it's 500 feet.
It's small.
Most of the cities are 1,000 feet, which is better because you don't want that concentration. The sad part is that people are looking at years past and looking at LA and looking at these places that are really bad, and I can understand how they're feeling, So Santa Barbara deserves to have places that are open, and part of that ordinance says they can't have mirrored glass. People have to be able to see in. Law enforcement has to be able to see in. It has to be an open forum instead of just a little number on a dark covered window building. And I think when that happens, and the more that happens, it works for us. You're part of the community in an environmental and a responsible way. And that's what Santa Barbara needs and wants.
Yes, ma'am.
My name is Britta Bartels, and I filed an appeal with my husband in our neighborhood on the east side against the second permitted dispensary in Santa Barbara. And I have a lot of questions, which would probably take too much of the time here. But I wanted to say that we did a lot of homework. We did research on side effects of marijuana. What will it be like if people get addicted slowly but surely? And so we drove around and we checked out our neighborhood. We have a total now of 17 ones in Santa Barbara and only one permitted one. So I think we definitely should put a moratorium on this. And that's what the city council was talking about when it was given back to the ordinance committee. And I also realized that even though the city council tries to say that the planning commission is very down to earth and taking care of what they have to do, I think that the person who wrote the ordinance, it was one single planner, should have not been the only one putting the ordinance together, because there is a lot of evidence that he's in favor of the legalization of cannabis. And I think that is not really telling us that there is any chance of a moratorium or putting a cap on this right now. And I actually sent an email to the Planning Commission, and I got an out-of-office reply stating that, sorry, folks, like this is what it sounded like. We are not really that fast right now to take care of your application, but here's the link, so go ahead and apply. And I think that's controversial towards shutting them down and not allowing more than probably 2 or maximum 4. And I took my calculator, found out 400,000 inhabitants in Oakland versus 90,000. We should only have 0.9 rounded up to 1. So that's what I think. Thanks for listening.
1. Thank you very much for your question.
Well,
1?
Yeah, 1 is fine. That's what we have right now. But
well, she said we have 17.
Yeah. I would have liked the addresses of those 16 other ones, and I hope we can get those. But the issue. I appreciate her activism. It's good. It's always good to have neighbors, being active. That's what democracy is all about. But the truth is, when we wrote an ordinance, we write it with the city attorney, and the city attorney and the city council has several hearings, and I remember that one took a lot of time. And we put it out there. We voted for it. And now it's over a year, about a year and a half later, we're ready to look at it again and see what the result was. And what we're having, we only have 1, so the moratorium doesn't make sense to me because there's only 1.
So it's really an enforcement issue of the ones that are operating without a permit.
I think so,
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think the idea is, she's got a great idea. Why don't we figure out how many we really need? How many people in the city of Santa Barbara should be having these recommendations? How many really need the marijuana? And, maybe it's 1 dispensary, maybe it's 4. I don't know. But I don't think it's 17.
Mark, what do you think about that, a cap on the number?
Well, competition's good. Los Angeles right now is having a price war. The prices of cannabis in Los Angeles are lower than they've ever been. Well, go figure, right? But if you have 1 dispensary and he knows he's the only one in the whole city that can ever supply cannabis, what's stopping him from capitalizing on it? So you should have freedom of choice. There should be a good number of collectives. Just like we're pointing out, you have, her collective, my collective, you have a few. I don't have very much money. I couldn't afford a $25,000 conditional use permit to operate. Well, that's what some cities have done in requiring for conditional use permits. That's the highest one I know of. But it's, you got to work with the whole community, the patient community and the non-patient community. The problems that arose in Santa Barbara was because I believe the Planning Commission didn't want a dispensary on State Street because that's where all of our what do they call them? Tourists come, right? So then they said, okay, Upper State Street, less travel. The West Side is actually what started the concerns for inefficient or unregulated dispensaries. Was one club specifically on the West Side. They had a meeting at the community center, and then when the moratorium was set into play, well, no one can be on the West Side because the community had already spoken up. So let's put them all on the other side of the city. That's not what their intention was, but that's essentially what had happened. Was okay, Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Penny, what about this issue of a cap? Do you think that's a substantive issue from your perspective? If we had 1 that would address some of your concerns, or is that?
It would be helpful if it was 1 and we knew it was highly ethical and not selling to, selling only to people 18 and over that really did have a medical problem. I think it would be great. I have sat outside and watched the people coming out of a couple of dispensaries just out of curiosity. And they're not a bunch of old, sick people that can hardly move or sick at all. What I happened to see was a bunch of young people. Now, they were 18 and over, but they were not old, sick people. And so I really think if you had 1, the regulations could be much stronger.
Sick meaning physically disabled or mentally challenged?
Either one.
Well, you can't physically see a mental
Sometimes
condition.
you can.
Not on antidepressants.
JoAnna, cap, what do you think? Sounds like it would work for LA. They got 800.
Cap it at
If I
1,000.
was the only one, then, you know, I
Right.
wouldn't have much complaints.
Probably a good idea. How you get to that cap and who you allow is the biggest part. That's why I like the idea